panel discussion about technology and the future of work. I would like to invite FARWA Hussain, who is the moderator. She is also the Director Operations at grande.
For introduction, for our correction here, I am Rafael and I will be moderating the session. Honorable FARWA, she is one of the panelists. So as we start this discussion, let me call on stage all of our key speakers and the panelists. Can we please have Mr. Umar Faruqi, who is the CEO of Future Pakistan. Please everyone, please have a round of applause for him. Next, let's have Ms. FARWA. She has traveled all the way just for this particular event. FARWA Hussain, the head of HR, FARWA's financials, and the director of operations, grande. Thank you. Let's also have Sajid Akhtar, the CEO of Asset Analytics. Thank you, Sajid. Next, let's have Umar Jaliawala, the CEO of Torcrop. And finally, Kaisar Abbas, who is an acclaimed, globally renowned leadership coach. So, as we can see, the topic is very interesting, and the recent shift is something that we have already witnessed. Technology and how we used to work has shifted. So first of all, I would like each one of you to give us a brief introduction of yourself and how has this recent change affected you and your particular industry. So over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Rafael. I'm Sajid. I'm the CEO of Asset Analytics. We help organizations mine actionable intelligence out of data. To answer your question, I think it has facilitated us a great deal, primarily because it's easier to get outsourcing contracts from organizations across the world because the propensity for them to subscribe to outsourced services and then also hiring remote developers or remote analysts or data scientists has increased in the recent past, specifically owing to COVID.
So it means when we speak about analytics, it has actually contributed because you can always outsource different work to different particular individuals, right?
Yep.
How about you? What do you think? How has it affected the vision that you have with Future Pakistan?
I mean, in a very positive way. I mean, Future Pakistan is a super platform basically that prides itself to being a metaverse in the future, right? A digital platform that already has over 60 million users, or population, I should say. We're almost just like the name says, Future Pakistan. We believe we are the future of Pakistan digitally, right? So it's a good platform that will take advantage of all the data that comes its way, and analytics is a huge way to go.
How about you, FARWA? How has the new way of working, which means remote, affected grande? No. You need to click this.
Am I audible now? So I feel it has impacted, I think, all of us at work or at home. The impact of COVID-19 and the acceleration of moving towards a digital life, I think it has impact beyond our imagination. At work, naturally, it has presented a lot of opportunities for us as employers. But at the same time, I think it has made some of our work more difficult in terms of making sure that employees are engaged, the feeling of a social circle within the office, the engagement levels drop drastically. And I think all of us by now agree that, the last 2 years have had a lot of impact on the mental health of people.
Definitely.
And I think a lot of us have lost our loved ones and dear ones. So all of that, because you see, we're all about human interaction at work. And when we bring our whole selves to the office, naturally all of this has had an impact. But at the same time, I think it presents both an opportunity and is a challenge too.
So a very important point that FARWA has raised, as a human, our need of association and how technology is taking away that from us. It, on one hand, is making us capable of working remotely or working independently. On the flip side, what it's also doing is, it is taking away that human factor, the factor of association, the factor that someone is there for me, the factor of association and working collaboratively with someone is taking that sentiment away, that feeling away. Umair, what do you think? How has this affected Torque?
My company went down with this, and a whole lot of training business went down with this, because our business model has been to go around, interact with people, to make learning happen, to design that learning and to roll it out in workshops, in retreats, in different experiential ways. So of course with COVID, all of that went away. There were no conferences, there were no events, there were no retreats, there were no workshops. But then a new thing happened, which was the digital phenomenon. So we all went digital with our trainings, with our courses. The upside, it became very easily accessible for the companies, for the clients. They would join us nationwide. At times they would join us from even outside Pakistan. In the same session, you could have people from all over. They could interact. There were newer tools, digital tools. But I also learned that there is something more than just looking at each other and listening to each other. I think we all bring some energy to this hall, and that adds to the lights, and that adds to what we experience, the human experience. So as soon as the pandemic, sort of went down, we were back, and companies wanted that human interaction, that welcome back. So I think we have expanded. We have added this to our portfolio. This is not going to go away. Our industry has become hybrid. A whole lot of our programs now are not just physical. They start digitally, then there's some physical experience. So newer ways. Lastly, I think, and I must say this for those of you who are our clients or potential clients, that आप लोग बहुत मुश्किल से meetings हमेशा लाजमी होती थी. और ट्रेनर का स्केड्यूल भरा हुआ होता था, ट्रेनिंग 7 मीटिंग्स के. अब वो सारी मीटिंग्स होती है, they happen on Zoom, they happen so conveniently in such a short duration. So I think we've become more productive like that. We can meet our clients more in lesser duration with greater frequency, and that helps.
So what's interesting is that even though there were certain businesses who greatly benefited from it, but there were certain industry groups that also suffered. And what's the example is trainings, because that's something you do one-on-one. You cannot match the energy of being online and being physically at the premises. That's very true. But like you mentioned, people have adopted to this particular phenomena, right? Now, as we see, and when we speak about technology, what's next? Because as far as I see it, IoT is a thing. Metaverse is a thing. That means being at home, just using certain glasses or certain gadget, I can be physically there. I can have that particular sentiment of association or experiencing it in the real terms. How do you think? How would it work? Is it something that's going to happen soon? Would it have certain drawbacks? Or how would you comment on it?
I think it's certainly going to happen. Whether that happens in the short term or the mid term or the longer term depends on the complexity of the technology involved. So virtual reality, for example, has a prerequisite that you need to have certain hardware to be able to participate in that. So to have a complete VR 360-degree experience, you need to have a device like Oculus or anything along those lines. So the penetration of that technology is going to govern how long it takes eventually for these things to become a part of our daily life. So mobile penetration in Pakistan has been very, very rapid, and that's primarily because the variants with respect to price parity were a lot. So you can buy a phone for 4,000 rupees as well as you can buy a phone for upwards of 300,000 rupees. So if that sort of technological breakthrough comes into these devices that are prerequisite of specifically VR, metaverse, and even artificial intelligence based startups or businesses as well, or devices that partake that. So I think that's going to primarily govern. But I do feel that it's definitely going to happen. Some of these technologies have already started breaking through. Gaming is one of those examples where VR is really prevalent now. And even in Pakistan, in metropolitan cities, you would have the opportunity to put on a VR device and have a 360-degree gaming experience. So yeah, I think that's all.
Omar, I particularly wanted to know from you, since you're already working on it, how soon do you think this penetration would come into action?
I mean, if I spill the beans, I would say that we are 2 years away at least from starting this. Why? Because as you said rightly, so technology in Pakistan is not ready. Right? We don't have strong Wi-Fi, we have a lot of these issues, we have basic issues that we have to sort out first before we get to metaverses of this world, right? Once we do that, then we are ready to go and quantum leap into the next stage. And I believe that the country can do it. Does it has the desire to do it or not? That's another matter. That could also be a political thing, right? Who knows? But what I will say is, and kind of tying into your last point, the last question, we as human beings, I mean, we're creatures of habit, right? Technology, whether we like it, love it, hate it, it's going to be here. It's going to get even more and more in our faces, in our everyday lives.
And we have to put up with it. We have to update
right?
ourselves.
Exactly, right? We can't be our parents who are like, no way,
Yeah.
right? So we have to reinvent ourselves. Businesses have to reinvent themselves and adapt to what is coming, and it's coming very fast. Every year, it's exponential. So it's all about us and what we learn and how we adapt and go on to the next stage.
FARWA, we have a comment where it depends on the adaptability, and then we have another comment that says it's going to happen within 2 years. Do you think we are ready for it?
Well, regardless of whether we're ready for it or not, but like has been said, it is coming, and it's going to impact us very differently. While we may say that metaverse isn't here, AI is still not something that businesses are using at a majority in Pakistan. I think what at least we at Karandas or in our subsidiaries have started to see is that the talent that we currently have is already being poached. It is being hired by international companies.
Yes.
At rates that maybe we can't even compete with.
Yes.
And so the talent is ready. It is as good as somebody is sitting in California or somewhere in Australia. So our talent competes. Our infrastructure may not be competing, but I think as employers, we now need to step up, be much more agile, and see what our competitors are. Our competitors have already started to become very global.
Yes, that's true.
So while us using metaverse may be something which is coming in a few years, but I think I at least have started seeing how it has started impacting our work already. So
How's that? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so how it has started impact. So the last 7 out of 10 people I've lost have gone to startups, and many of those startups are international. And almost 90% of them are offering remote work.
Yes.
Now that's a situation that none of us thought we would be in. So in that situation, I think what one needs to really focus on is the employee experience.
Yeah.
Because as more and more technology comes in, I think technology is the least thing we would be worried about as HR heads, as heads of the organizations. I think what we will really need to work on is the human
element of it.
of the whole thing, and what experience we as employers are giving to our employees, because that will ultimately become the edge and the competitive advantage that we would have over another employer. So I think lots to talk about, but I think it has started to impact us already.
Umair, since FARWA has already set the stage for you, you are the person who directly interacts with the people. So what's your take on this? Would it give us the same experience that we want, or would it be different? Or how are people actually ready? Same question.
Yeah. Are you all with us? Can we have a louder yes?
Yes.
So the more things change, the more they stay the same. While we live in an exponential world, and it's going to be fast. It's going to be faster than you and I can think. That's what technology has demonstrated over the last many decades. So let's leave it to that. Whether we'll adapt or not, some of us will. And they will have the early mover advantage like they used to in business terms. If you look at the recent social platforms, those of us who were early to dive on, instead of criticize the platforms, have really gained a lot from it. Same is going to be the case. So therefore you will see in my industry, you have new age teachers. The old ones are still doing a bit of YouTube. Even people like me, I struggle with that. We have so much of day work. There are other teachers on the digital media who are doing what we used to do. They're much younger, they're doing it in a different way. They use many, many more different tools. So I think that's going to happen. Some of us always adapt and they get the advantage, and the rest will, join in. But I want to say something interesting. Agar aap sab mere saath hain. So while the external world will keep changing and keep evolving and new technologies will keep coming in, your technology is not going to change. It's been the same. So expect a Firaun in metaverse. It's going to be the same human beings with the same human problems in the metaverse. What you see in social media world, the big ego calling, this is what I'm doing, this is what my lifestyle is, here's my fan following. You will see much more of that glorified. So the human challenge will stay the same. But here is the secret, and I truly believe in this, that as we will get into more and more verses, I want all of us to know that we have come from somewhere.
That's important. Yeah.
It's not this physical world. You were there, Farwa, right? No, sorry, Farwa.
No.
You were there, Farwa and Rabia, long before you came here, and you will be there long after you're gone. So where have you come from? We will rise in that awareness as well. The more external, the more internal the drive. And that's the amazing journey that God has set us on. So the consciousness is rising, the human consciousness, and we are learning more things. For example, we are learning that there is intelligence beyond this brain. I'm presenting reason to you right now, but it's not reason which made Umair. Right? There was some other intelligence that made Umair, and then Umair had a brain, and that got the wiring that it did, and education and templates and learnings. So what was that intelligence? So we know a little about ourselves as well. In this big multiverse, before it became metaverse, we changed universe to multiverse. We're not even a speck, our planet, in this grand scheme of things. So welcome to that journey as well. As the brain talks to the machine, as we learn more and more about ourselves with this external technology, I think we learn greater secrets about ourselves, and that will lead to our true salvation, independence, freedom, which is what we truly desire. You know, if I ask all of you, show me freedom with your bodies, come on. Show me freedom.
I can kick anything at the moment.
Yeah? Your body will open up
Yeah.
because you are beyond time and space. You're trapped in this physical. And therefore your freedom is getting beyond this. And I think we're getting beyond this with each of the external technological development. I truly believe in that. It's a miracle. All that we see, all that amazes us is human effort. Thank you.
I think
Sorry
it's
for
like,
the
One
if I
thing
can,
that
if I can just add,
Yeah.
you know, it sounds like the Matrix is here.
Saad is already, Umair is already asking us to, open up. Is something going to happen? Things start thinking beyond what we are already thinking. But one thing that you said that stuck with me, and I cannot, get over it, is some of the people who would be the early adopters would gain, others would be the losers. Directly coming to you, since you are the person who understands AI more than me, who are the people who would be the losers? Does it mean I understand that AI is more smarter than me, but it doesn't have feelings? But that's something else. Business doesn't care about feelings. But Farwa says feelings would remain there. People wanted experience. AI doesn't care. AI cares about the experience, about the outcome, about the performance. Would it mean some of us who are doing, let's suppose OD, culture management, who are actually managing, these jobs would be replaced? Because work would be efficient, we would have softwares to manage it, we would have AI to manage it, we would have different checks on us to manage it, just like different project management tools. Would that mean AI would take away these managerial roles, the HR per se?
I don't think it's essentially going to replace it in the absolute sense of the word. I think it's more along the lines of complementing it, but in a completely different manner altogether. So, like, I'll give you a very simple example. Say that, 2 decades ago, accountants were supposed to know, accounting principles, whether they're based out of US or Canada or anywhere else. Like, they would learn the principles of